Welcome to the next session, Beyond the Scar, Stories of Healing, Hope, and Identity. Now we're going to sort of dig deep into some of the challenges that often shape those of us who are cleft affected and move us towards becoming who we are, becoming more resilient. So without further ado, please help me give a warm welcome to Miranda Strange, Tracy Guy, and Kimberly Ryan.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Virtual ClefCon 2025. Woo! I am Miranda Strange. I was born with a bilateral cleft lip and palate, and I am on the CCAC board. This is actually my very first Virtual ClefCon experience, so it is a huge honor to be moderating this panel. Today we have Kimberly Ryan and Tracy Guy with us talking about the unseen emotional and personal journeys behind cleft experiences as both adults and parents, and they're sharing how their scars have shaped but never defined them. And through these stories of healing, identity, and confidence, it offers an inspiring reminder that every scar carries strength and beauty. Both of you have very interesting stories and unique perspectives, and I'm excited to share those with everyone here today. Kimberly, you are cleft affected, and Tracy, your son Colin, is cleft affected. So you are bringing both the perspective as a parent and also touching a little bit on his own experience. So, Tracy, I'd actually like to start with you. What has your journey with watching Colin go through cleft surgeries and healing looked like over the years? And are there any formative moments that stand out to you during that time?
So our cleft journey started at our 20-week ultrasound. That's the day that we found out that he was a boy, but also the day that the amazing ultrasound tech was able to see his cleft. And then a few days later, we went to the specialist and got the more clear ultrasound where we could definitely see that he had a bilateral cleft lip. He's 13 now. He was born with a bilateral cleft lip and a cleft palate. And the cleft palate was, in the doctor's words, very extreme. Like there was no roof to his mouth at all. So he has had 13 surgeries so far. It started with his G-tube surgery. He was 3 weeks old. And I would say that that one was the hardest because, I mean, first time I ever got to see him walk down the hallway with the nurses to the OR. Um, he's had surgeries to help with his breathing, his speaking, his hearing. He had two surgeries in 2020, and those are the surgeries where he started showing us that he wasn't really worried about surgery. He doesn't act like he's scared or anything like that. And when he started feeling more comfortable with it, I think it really helped us too, me and my husband as well.
Absolutely. And how was that initial kind of when you found the information for the first time? How did you kind of react to that? And was there anything that helped kind of prepare you for this next journey, this next 13 years?
I was scared, and the doctor said, don't Google anything. And I listened to the doctor, and I didn't Google anything. My mother Googled a lot of things, but I didn't do that. I was very tense anyway the whole time um, through the pregnancy. So I just read the paperwork that came from the doctor, and we had ultrasound after ultrasound. He hid his face on every other ultrasound that we had, even though we probably had six more. He hid his face every single time after that first one, or after we went to the specialist. He had his hands in his face, his feet in his face. He he let us have that one sneak peek, and then that was it.
You had to wait. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And then, Kimberly, so you actually found out a very cool fact about yourself and your class. So I'd love for you to share that with us and talk about your journey and surgeries and how that has looked like over the years for you.
Sure. So since you mentioned it, I'll start with the fun fact. So I was born cleft affected. I am unilateral on the right side only and lip only. And thanks to the wonders of technology, I ask the app, what were the chances of my exact cleft? So being a Caucasian, a woman with a unilateral cleft lip only on the right side, and discovered that I am not only 1 in 700, as we know is the cleft statistic, but I am 1 in 14,815 of my exact demographic to have a cleft. So it was a little fun to learn that little statistic.
I'm going to be doing
but
for this.
I know everybody's like, okay, I gotta check that out. But my journey, so mine is slightly different than Colin's in that, obviously, one, I was cleft lip only, but I've only gone through 3 surgeries. So I had my initial cleft repair when I was 3 months old. I had a bone graft on my upper jaw because my cleft did go to my upper jaw, but not to the palate. And then about 10 years after that, I had a rhinoplasty and cleft scar revision. I do have more surgeries probably in the future, which I'm actually kind of looking forward to, because growing up, I didn't realize anything was wrong. My mom raised me just like my brothers and sisters. I didn't look, any different to her. I wasn't treated any differently. I just, it was the same as if when my brother got in a bike accident and put his teeth through his lip, you go and you get it fixed. So I just was never thought that I was different. And then it probably wasn't until my bone graft, because I was in 5th grade, I think, at the time. So it was knowing the reaction from my fellow classmates and seeing their reaction and their realization that I looked different, which I think kind of on my journey is where I started feeling different. My family didn't treat me different, but being in school, I felt different because the other kids didn't understand why I looked different. And even going into high school, there was 2 other cleft kids not in my grade, but in my school. There was a young man who was bilateral cleft, I think lip and palate. And then there was another young lady that was bilateral cleft lip and palate that also went into her ears, and she was deaf. So I knew that it existed, but yeah, it was just different to me because I guess because mine wasn't as extreme. So it was like I could relate, but I couldn't relate.
It's kind of like that in between.
Right.
And so that actually brings me a good point. Tracy, did you have the same kind of mindset as a parent? Just to treat Colin as a normal kid, everyone the same, everything the same? How did you kind of go about that?
He's the only child. So I always wanted him to be included in everything, and yes, treat him the same, but there were some things that you would say I was very worried about or anxious about, like getting his face in water before all of his surgeries. I was always afraid of water from anything that went in his mouth went in his nose. And I know he probably went to the doctor more, like the pediatrician, because he was very prone to sinus infections even before babies are supposed to have sinuses. He had sinus infections. I would say I'm definitely a worrier when it comes to things. But he's always done pretty much everything that any other kid his age would do.
My mom was definitely the same way. I think it's just kind of natural mom instinct.
Yeah.
And so, Kimberly, how have your scars, both visible and invisible, shaped your sense of identity and confidence?
Well, definitely, my visible scars, as a young woman, made me feel ugly. It made me feel like, all I wanted to do was just disappear into the background. I wanted to look like everybody else. I wanted to, not feel different. I didn't want to look different because because I look different. Well, then I was bullied, and then I was picked on, and people didn't understand. And because of also the things I've gone through in my family life, kind of contributed to the internal scars, which when you're battling from the inside and the outside as a 10, 11, 12-year-old child, that can be a very confusing time when you're learning who you are. But as I grew up, like I always wanted to be in front of the camera. I always wanted to be in the spotlight, and I didn't understand why, not that I couldn't, but why I didn't see anybody else that looked like me. And that actually kind of brought me to where I am now, and in my mission to be the first cleft Sports Illustrated model. In that, Sports Illustrated is all for inclusivity and diversity and embracing everybody. And I want to show through my invisible and my visible scars and my journey that different is good, different is beautiful, and it's our differences that make us beautiful. If we were all cookie cutter, we would all be boring, and we would all blend in, and nobody would really, look or feel special. And I want to show the world through my modeling that, we are beautiful even with our scars.
Everyone is, yes. And who wants to blend in? It's
Not
totally
me.
okay to be different. No, I love that. I love your mission. It's something I also try to do on my end as well, just because, like you said, like I didn't see anyone growing up, when I was young that looked like me, and I only knew one other person who was cleft affected, when I was young. And so now in the age of social media, it's really cool to see, our community kind of put themselves out there and really advocate for us and spread awareness and do our thing. I'm all here for it. So thank you for being part of that too. Tracy, is there anything you've noticed with Colin after going through these surgeries that has kind of helped shape his own identity and confidence?
Well, for one, he has a very high pain tolerance, and he doesn't worry about, like I said, he doesn't worry about surgery so much. Some of the things, I guess, that would be internal scars or things that have helped or influenced him are, I guess, the trauma from the orthodontist. He's a pretty tough kid, but that's one thing that he does not like. But he doesn't seem to worry about things. I'm sure there are things that he doesn't tell me, but things that that might seem kind of major to others are pretty minor to him.
Once you go through it, it's kind of like, we've been here before, we've done this. I think even with, like I said, my mom, she worried way more than I did. I was just like, oh, yep, getting put under again. Here's my sixth surgery. It's routine, it's no big deal. But then to kind of see it from an outsider's perspective, I totally get that, what we go through is not necessarily like normal, but it's normal for us. And I think that's a unique just thing to talk about, because a lot of people just don't understand everything that's involved with being cleft affected.
Yeah, and since he doesn't worry about it so much, since he started just saying it's it's number 13, or he has number 14 coming up, that it makes me worry less now, because I know that he's not worried about it. And I've always been one to try not to stress out around him. That way he doesn't stress out. And I think that's helped. Because I'm good at holding everything in, even if I am stressed, and that can be a bad thing, but it also can be a good thing in trying to keep him from worrying about things.
No, I definitely think it helps, just to have that calming presence, and probably seeing that you're okay. It helps him feel more okay. So I think it's a hard thing to do, but I think it's really good that you're doing that for him.
I think in a way, Tracy, that your guys are helping each other. So he's trying to reassure you, like, Mom, it's okay. I got this. I'm being strong, because he doesn't want you to worry, because he knows you need to be strong for him. So it's like you guys are piggybacking each other.
Yeah. And he knows I can be vocal if needed, because he appreciates that when that happens.
So, as you've gone through these surgeries with him, how do you navigate talking about that experience with other people? Whether it's in like a workplace or community, or other family.
So being on the the CCAC has helped, um, because I am able to talk to people who have been through these things or people who will be going through the same things. Um, I can give advice and they can give advice to me. When it comes to the family, um, I would say that the people in our family have definitely been educated about clefts and how they know that they are not a one-time fix, and that so many other things, like I was saying earlier about hearing and speaking and um, eating and breathing, are all affected. Um, they, I, I, I probably talk more about it than I should, but they also probably know that it helps me to talk about it. Um, like currently, we're going through the braces. Starting, I just made the appointment today for his second round of braces, and sleep apnea. Those are our two things right now. So I have a pretty strong group of family members and friends, and they let me talk it out. And so I'm I would say that it's definitely easier, especially with the CCAC.
You have a group of people that understand, like get
Yes.
it, and it is kind of like therapy. That's or like a healing process to talk about it. Kimberly, do you feel that way as well with like sharing yours online, like your online community?
Oh, definitely. And I have to agree with Tracy. As a member of the CCAC and the CCSC, I get both sides. So I get to like hear the advocate side where it's like, yes, let's do this, let's support us, and everybody's like full force, like we need to make people aware. We need to bring, and then I get to use that empowerment from there to bring that into the support group to help people like Tracy and other cleft affected people who are like maybe still not comfortable. But I find social media definitely is for me like therapy. I get to tell my story. I get to put my name out there so people can put a face with, what is cleft, and I'm always sharing, Smile Trains slides and social media. Um, but I found definitely as a child, I didn't want to talk about it. It was like, cause that meant I was different. And like I said before, I didn't want to be different. I wanted to be like everybody else. Don't talk to me. Don't point it out, because then, now I'm singled out. Whereas now I'm like, yeah, sure. You want to know about it? What do you want to know? Where do I start? I will talk to you for days. I am a talker. I talk fast. I talk loud. I talk a lot. So, I mean, I've had people come up to me and they think I got bit by a dog. And then that gives me the opportunity to open that door and say, well, no, I wasn't, but this is what did, happen. Or I've had mothers come up to me and they're like, can I ask you, were you born with a cleft? And it's because they have a child or they know somebody that was born with a cleft, and they're just intrigued to hear it from the first person's perspective. And I just love those opportunities, because it lights me up, because the whole purpose of CCAC and CCSE is to get that word out there. And every person who asks me is another person who knows. It's another person that's going to tell two people, that's going to tell two people, that's going to tell two people.
It's a way of like our scars bringing us, strength and pride and connection with other
Absolutely.
people. And I love like your story with Sports Illustrated, because it's another opportunity for you to share that story, and to get that word out on a much grander scale too. So that's I love it.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to go to New York City and actually like talk to the editor in chief and some of the models that like you open the pages, and some of them were like, oh yeah, I've worked with them, or I'm working with them and I love what they do and I love what you do. And then there were other people who literally sat down next to me and went, tell me about it. I want to know more. Like, what is it? What do they do? How do they do it? What do they do for you? And how are you connected? So I got to have both opportunities of talking to people who already knew what it was about, and educating others who weren't.
Absolutely. So we are at our 20 minutes here, but I do want to ask one last question to you ladies. So Tracy, If you could speak to your younger self as a parent, just starting Colin's cleft journey, what kind of wisdom or encouragement would you want to share and give yourself and give other parents in the same position as you?
I would say this sounds simple, but that it will be okay. It's hard, but it will be okay. Um, I would want them to know to be it's important and you can be your child's advocate. There will be times where you have to the polite word is advocate, but I would say fight to make sure that your child has what they need. Um, you have the right to pick your doctors and to get second opinions. It's really helpful if you can find someone who also has been through what you are going through, like to be on the Smile Train CCAC. I'm very fortunate to have two good friends, one that I work with and I see every day who has a son with a cleft, and then another friend that lives near us, and she's actually our 4-H leader too, and her son has a cleft. So it's good to have some people there to support you.
It really is. And honestly, I wish I would have known about all of these resources even when I was, you know, dealing with it. I don't think my mom even like sought it out. Maybe she did, but she didn't tell me. And I think it would have been a lot easier just to know that we're not alone, we're not going through this alone, and then just share the struggles and wins and challenges with each other as we go through this journey. So I think that's a really important piece of advice. Thank you. Kimberly?
I would just, there's a lot I would tell her, but I would think just use your voice, own who you are. You know, you're beautiful just the way you are, and God gave you a voice and allowed one of that to just use it for all the good that you can. And the more you use it, the better you feel about yourself. And yeah, just own who you are. Own your pretty is my new like tagline. Own your pretty.
Oh, I like that. Might need to be on the shirt there. I love that. Well, thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Tracy, for sharing your stories today and educating all of us here on your journeys. This will be our time when we open up to Q&A to the audience. So I'm excited to hear what questions people have for you too.
Hi, so now we have time for some questions. Tracy, is there anything that you do or his provider does to help ease Colin's anxiety when going to the orthodontist? Anything that has worked? We used to use bribery because we would reward him with a trip to Target or a trip to the Lego store on really hard days, and that worked when needed. And sometimes that still happens when he's going to the dentist for something that like something that involves nitrous or being sedated in one way or another. Also, I've had to become, like, as I said, an advocate. We don't do impressions anymore. And if they suggest that an impression is needed, I have to tell them no, that we aren't doing that. I had to tell them that a couple months ago. That the 3D scanning is available. They have it now. And even if it takes longer to get some kind of appliance made, that we will do that. I've promised him that he will never have to have impressions again, and I will stick to that. So I think this time when we start orthodontics, which will be December 23rd, he gets braces again. It may be a little easier because he knows what's happening. And he also knows that mom will do whatever she can to make it better for him and make it not as hard as it was when he had round 1 of orthodontics.
Okay, so Kim, I'm curious what part of the country you grew up in with 3 children in your age group that were also cleft affected. I always wonder if there are geographic factors because I feel like it's so prevalent here in Florida. So I am born, raised my whole life on Long Island in New York. Um, I guess because I had three people that looked like me, I guess I didn't think of it as anything abnormal. I just thought everybody had people who looked different everywhere they were. So it didn't seem to me that that it was any different than anywhere else. But yeah, I was about 3 hours outside of New York City, actually.
Okay, this one says, what general advice for the future would you give to a mom of a 6-month-old baby with mild cleft lip? Kim, okay. I would say that, um, again, be an advocate. You have choices. You hopefully you live in an area where you do have more choices. Like we are very fortunate. I live near Indianapolis, and there are two cleft teams, two hospitals that have cleft teams near us, and then we actually drive to Cincinnati, so we don't go to either of those two hospitals anymore. But we have a third, and it's only about an hour and 40 minutes from our house. But doing research, um, making sure that the doctors um, like that they explain things and that they make sure that you understand what's going on. Because, like I said, hopefully you live in an area where you have choices, um, but I've been known to do a lot of Google searches on doctors and make sure that their ratings are what I think they need to be before they see Colin. Um, and um, and ask for help. Hopefully, you can be on the CCAC and you'll be able to meet with other people that have a cleft or parents of kiddos that have clefts, and that we can help you through it too.
I was going to piggyback that. I think definitely, I think one of the other panels had said that arm yourself with knowledge. Just do look up all your research, use all your resources. CCAC is a wealth of knowledge, and usually, if they don't have the question for you, they will find the answer for you. So yeah, just the more educated you are, the more empowered you'll be, the more you'll be able to advocate for yourself or your child, whatever the situation, and you'll be more confident standing up for what you deserve instead of just letting them dictate what they want to give you.
I
Um,
agree.
I think there was just one other question. What advice would you give to someone who's starting the cleft journey? What is one thing you recommend for them as they go through the early stages of the journey? I would just say have patience. It's a long journey, as most of us
Mm.
know, whether we're the parent of a child or we are the cleft affected adult. Be patient, be empowered. Um, Piggybacking again on the last question, just use your resources, use social media, use the internet. There's so much information out there, and some people just don't know where to find it, but just dig and dig. It's in there. Um, but just patience is definitely the first, because it's not a one and done. It's a lifelong journey.
Yes, I agree with Kimberly too. I would say that patience is very important, and to know that it can't be all fixed at one time. That there are things that I wish that um, the surgeon could have taken care of when Colin was an infant or a toddler. But our first doctor, our first surgeon, who's retired now, but um, he knew that I was frustrated a lot, especially when it came to like liquids coming from Colin's nose. I wish that that could have been fixed when he was 1 or 2 years old, but in reality, that never stopped. And well, it stopped, but it did not stop until his bone graft surgery in 2020. That's what finally made that stop happening. And the doctor told us over several times that it will get done, but it will be done when Colin's ready. Um, he said that his goal for Colin would not be that this the stuff kept going and it would stop going in his nose like now, but he said that when he is an adult and perhaps he's in a business meeting, he should be able to sit around a meeting with his coworkers and eat a candy bar without worrying about the chocolate coming out of his nose. Um, and so there are things that take time, but um, but the
And don't
doctors
be
will be
afraid to
able to
ask the
do.
questions.